for
Plus,
that much
how
money.
many rinks do we have in Minnesota? How many rinks do we have in the vicinity of St. Paul?
Well, you know, and as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter how many rinks they have as long as they're self-sustaining.
That's right. They have to be self-sustaining. Very good. You know, that's how, when we do business, that's when we plan any project, we say cash flow positive or bust.
Cash flow positive or bust.
Because if it doesn't generate
Well,
cash
then,
flow for the city or for the business, it's not viable. It becomes a drain on the rest of the community. It becomes a drain on the business.
no, I mean, there are some things in government that are a drain, that you can't have cash flow.
Right.
For.
Well, for instance, your roads.
Roads.
You're going to always have maintenance
Well,
on that.
yeah.
But we knew that. And your utilities, we know that. Utilities are that way.
Well, and I think more money, I mean, to make it work, they should raise the fees on that, and then the person using them pays for them. But
right. But any facility like that we do, we should make sure that there is a cash flow to sustain St. Paul with. It becomes part of the tax base to stabilize the growth of St. Paul and to stabilize the taxes for the citizens.
and that, well, there's one other aspect that I'm thinking here is you have $7 to $10 million for LGA, and that you need, otherwise you got to lay off police officers and firemen. But we want another $40 million for an ice rink. So, I mean, they're playing the game. They're playing hardball.
They're playing hardball.
And
they're playing with the citizens' mind.
yeah,
too.
exactly. That's exactly. I mean, they're messing with that game there. I mean, just in the aspect, we just have to say it. That's what a lot of this is. We just say it, and then they'll accept it, and that's just the way it's going to be. They really, I mean, and they do have a lot, and government officials do have a lot of power to do that, unless the people, which in the government schools, in my mind, aren't properly educated, that they need to speak up because these are our servants. And I mean, you'll be our servant, or at least I don't live in St. Paul, but the people serving in St. Paul, and it's up to the people to go out and hold them accountable.
That's right. Well, anytime we step up to serve, we need to serve.
Right.
And not be served. So we need to serve the people of St. Paul. We need to keep all of their best interests at our hearts. And that's the reason why we step up to serve. And if any other than that, it's not good intentions.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So that's your intention.
That's my intention. Because otherwise, why would I waste my time? I could do so many other things.
Well, what are some projects that you think need to happen in St. Paul?
Well, well, projects that are worthwhile, I think. We need to grow the economy of St. Paul. It's been on a dive. All the businesses are leaving. A lot of businesses are leaving. And the residences have been leaving. Population actually has declined in the 4 years that Chris Coleman has been in office. It has declined at least 5%. We were at one point 285,000 people, and I think we're just clinging on to 270,000 at this point.
Okay. And
people are just abandoning their properties and walking away because their assessments had gone up, you know, year after year, 3 years in succession, you know, 10%, 35%. You know, outrageous numbers. In fact, I have one over here. Highland Nursery over here is facing 1,275% tax increase in 1 year.
In 1 year?
Yeah, and that's the increased portion. That's not, you know, that's just the portion that was increased, 1,275%.
So that's not including if they had any capital improvements or other thing. It's just,
yep.
Here's
Just
the property
taxes,
as it was, and we're just another year out, and here's,
Yep.
so. And how are they justifying that?
They didn't. They just did it. They just said that, well, no, your property could be put to better use. For instance, we could put a Walgreens over here.
That, okay. Yeah, that's one of the scams.
Yes, and
okay.
you know, and they're trying to preserve green space and have a
Okay.
sustainable St. Paul. And everything that they do, millions and millions of
Okay.
dollars they put in for green space, and yet a nursery is not green.
All right.
Not green enough to hold that property.
Well, this is the trick that they're trying to do there, is that, okay, we don't have eminent domain anymore. Okay, we can't use that. Well, I mean, we're still going to try the St. Paul Port Authority. We're still going to do it anyway, because you know what? If you give up your rights, you know what? They're giving up, and they'll take advantage of you any way they can. And now, of course, if you watched my show before, that's my opinion of the judiciary, to do trickery and deceit in order to get you to give up your liberties. But here, instead of doing eminent domain, they go and say, we're going to raise your property taxes so that you can't afford to live in your own house anymore.
Yes, yeah, or it cannot be in your nursery anymore.
Or it can't be in your nursery. We got a better use.
Yeah.
That fits into that shoring company. That's really interesting. I didn't think that connection was going to be made tonight, but
it's amazing, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It's sad,
Yeah.
because that's not. I mean, you're a town, and you got your citizens that have been there a long time, and now you're trying to get rid of them for your own personal interests.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got any other examples of property?
Tax out of control.
Yeah, out of control.
There's another one, the wedding shop on Grand, and that is no bigger than a giant house, a bigger house.
Okay.
And they're paying $85,000 in property taxes a year. And that poor lady has owned that business for 32 years, and she wants to pass it on to her daughter. And the daughter probably has almost nothing to inherit.
$85,000 in property taxes a year.
A year.
And so they're treating it as a business.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tremendous amount.
Mm-hmm. The property is really no bigger than a large house. Just imagine paying $85,000 for that little bit of space that you actually have.
Well, is that comparable to what's going on in the area?
Yeah, there is another guy who complained that he only has, when I went to the Truth in Taxation, it was a hearing. It was a hearing, and that one guy was saying that he had something like 1,200 square foot of space, and he's paying somewhere like I think he was saying I'm thinking $40,000 a year in taxes. He could cry. I mean, how can a guy?
Right.
He had a prime spot. He had to admit he had a prime spot.
Sure.
But still, how can you generate enough revenue to cover that?
Right, and so they're forcing you out, and by raising the taxes.
Yeah.
And but then you're also, because the taxes are so high, that decreases the value of your property.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's less buyers wanting to buy it because,
right.
Yeah, that's right.
Or okay, I got to pay this much, $40,000 or $85,000 in property taxes, so I got this higher level of income to overcome. So the building now isn't as profitable to me. So for me to own it, so I will pay you less.
That's right.
So it's another way of taking property and taking the value of people's property away from them.
Yeah, it's pushing down demand.
I mean, this is business 101, economics 101, and
that's right.
Sounds to me like they're playing hardball with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I noticed, because I get downtown once in a while, at least once or twice a month.
Yeah.
Been in the office buildings there, and I remember going to one building, nice old building, just wrought iron and marble and granite, and one of those old-time elevators, and you're going up to the top floors, and the place is just vacant. And it's like there was a law firm there, and it was only, it was like they were the only thing in the whole building, the only business there. And I'm going, this is not making sense. So what's going on with properties in St. Paul?
Well, there's 30% vacancies downtown. The published rate in April was 28.5% vacancy rate. But then the industry insiders lean over and whisper to me, it's really more than 30%. So we're looking at 1/3 of the office space downtown being vacant.